that was Roll With It by Oasis, a fantastic song there off What's the Story? Morning Glory. So I think it's time to get into this. For the last couple of weeks, I've been really, really excited to talk about this. We're going to be talking about Album of the Week. As I previously mentioned earlier in the show, it is Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty from 1989. So yeah, let's just get into some of the just context about the album, really. So it's the first solo album by Tom Petty. Obviously, he'd done multiple albums with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Caused a bit of controversy amongst the band members. Obviously, he went off and wanted to do his own solo project. But pretty much all the members appear on the tracks in different forms. Apart from, I think, one of the members, but that's about it. But the album's produced by Jeff Lynne, and if that name sounds familiar, he's the main guy behind the Electric Light Orchestra, so songs like Mr. Blue Sky, Telephone Line, which I played a couple of weeks ago. So in sort of the 80s and 90s, Jeff Lynne sort of went into sort of producing a lot of albums. Like he produced stuff with like George Harrison of the Beatles, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, and throughout the 90s as well, he did some sort of the stuff with the Beatles anthology projects, produced a Paul McCartney album as well. He worked with loads of artists. Like I'm only scratching the surface.
Quite experienced.
So exactly, yeah. So should we just get into the tracks?
Yeah. So the first track's Free Falling, right?
It is, yeah.
I think it's a good chart song, good charts tune. But I see a problem I have with a lot of this album is I can see just an old man with a guitar around a fire. It feels like a campfire song, a lot of it. I love the song, it's a good song, but then even the music video, it's a sense of cheese grated on top of it.
Oh, the music video is very cheesy. The music video is very, like, it's as 80s as you can get. The only way it could be more 80s is if they were just flashing the digits 8 and 0, just on the screen. I get what you mean about the music video.
Extra mature cheddar all over.
Yeah. The song, it's personally my favourite Tom Petty / Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers track. I just love it. It's such a great anthem. It's the perfect way to kick off like the album, I think.
Yeah, it is a good song.
It's something that it's something that grabs the listener in, and I just love it. And throughout, I think a consistent thing you're gonna hear me say throughout this album is the guitar work on this album.
It's
really strong, and that's a great example. But there's one track in particular where the guitar work is just sublime, and we'll get onto that track later. And I think Ryan can probably work out which one I'm talking about already. For me, it's a really, really great song. And another thing I'll probably end up saying throughout this album, the harmonies are really nice sounding on this one. There's something about it, it works really well. I think Jeff Lynne's on a lot of the harmonies, and it clicks really well with a lot of the other tracks. So then next track after that is another hit song, I Won't Back Down.
A lot of these songs I don't dislike. Like this song I don't dislike, but I don't love it. Like I'm not. It's not a track I'll revisit. I'll maybe revisit Free Falling, but I can't see myself revisiting I Won't Back Down personally.
I personally really love this one. I think it's such a great sort of stand up kind of track, because the whole reason the song was written was like Free Falling, co-written with Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne. But the original concept is basically someone tried to burn down Tom Petty's house while he was in it. So like his whole thing is sort of like, it's like there's the line, you can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. So he's basically just saying that he's not going to take any nonsense from
that's
anyone.
quite an interesting story behind it.
So I do really like the story behind it. I think it really adds to the song for me anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we go into Love Is a Long Road, which is written with Petty and Mike Campbell, who is one of the Heartbreakers members, and obviously now currently in the lineup for Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
It's a very, like, the song as a whole. The metaphor is very simple, like Love Is a Long Road, but it's one of those ones like I'm surprised I've never heard it before.
Okay. Yeah. I know what you mean.
It's something so simple. You're like, how has that not been said before?
Yeah, it makes sense as well. I know what you mean.
The intro, I think, is really, really strong as well. Great guitar work. Again, very simple, very catchy. I think this is another single off the album. Obviously not as successful.
Yeah.
But
that was one of the things when I was doing my research on here, that I didn't realise quite how popular this album was for the time. There was quite a few tracks on this album that did quite well on the Billboard rock charts and stuff like that. And I really didn't know that about this album until I started researching into it.
Yeah, and then the next track after that is Facing the Crowd. Again, the intro I think is really cool. It's a nice sort of it's a nice little cool down after three sort of quite sort of not not heavy, but sort of more upbeat, fast tempo, sort of heavier tracks. This sort of is a bit more, sort of cools it down slightly. A nice Petty and Jeff Lynne co-write again. A lot of these are Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne co-writes.
Okay.
But there's a few that aren't. But any thoughts more on this song? Or again, this is sort of a blur for you. This one.
Yeah, another one that it's not really a highlight on the album for me. It's just one of those songs that I'm kind of forgetting about. And when we get on to talking about the B-sides, this is probably one of the songs that I'd consider getting rid of.
Oh, fair enough. I do really like this one, but I can see what you mean in the sense of like it is in comparison to the other tracks, because it's a bit more the tempo slower. Mm-hmm. I can see why maybe you'd would forget what it's like. But
the next track, however, is my favourite track on the album for sure.
Oh, it's a classic to be fair.
Running Down a Dream. First off, just like the meaning behind it, about the whole idea of continuously chasing a dream, and maybe the journey being better than the destination.
Yeah, it's a timeless thought, but it's done in quite a unique way. I think. And this is the song where I was saying the guitar riff. Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. I think it's probably the best Tom Petty guitar riff. Like I can't. It's
on this album definitely.
I think throughout his career, it's probably this one.
Yeah, it is incredible.
And it's again a fun little fact. It's features on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. So
the best GTA.
So some of you GTA fans may actually know the song, but you didn't even realize it. So, but this is actually a Petty, Jeff Lynne and Campbell, right? So it's all three of them on this one, which is the only combination of that on this album. Mm-hmm. I just think the imagery on this one's really cool, and it's a great sort of like car song.
Yeah,
if you ever
I can see that.
If you stick it on, and I've stuck it a couple of times on when I've been in the car, and it's just sort of like a cool driving down the motorway song.
I can see myself driving down Route 66.
Yeah, exactly.
With this kind of one. Yeah, I see that.
So that's the end of the first side of the album. If you're playing the record like I was this morning. And
this is where the album starts to get worse for me personally.
I will give you. I think side one is far superior.
Yeah,
but. Again, we kick off with Feel a Whole Lot Better, which is actually a cover. I didn't realise this until today when I was just looking into it again. It's a song by The Byrds, sort of a band from the 60s. It's actually it's a B-side by The Byrds. Mm. So considering the context of this song, like it's a B-side from a band in the 60s, it's actually, I think, a very good song.
Yeah.
It's got, again, sort of great guitar work. It's very, very catchy, and the harmonies.
I think this is the one that I kind of identified as one that kind of sounds a bit Beatlesy.
It's like sort of early Beatles.
Yeah.
Because it is a product of that era.
Yeah, so I really heard that when I was listening to that track. I was like, I can see why Mark would enjoy this. Like, it is a very Beatles style.
Yeah, definitely
kind of song.
Yeah, this is a song that for a while I didn't really get this next track. But You're So Bad. What do you think of You're So Bad?
I'm not sure. I listened to it 4 or 5 times. It's a bit hit and miss with me. The first couple times that I listened to it, I wasn't a fan. It's one of those tracks. But I've really come to appreciate this one. I now really love this one, and the reason why I love it so much. Firstly, it's very Bob Dylan-esque. Yeah, okay,
I don't know if you found that.
Yeah, I see it.
There's a lot of Tom Petty tracks are like this. There are some that are very Bob Dylan-esque, and it makes sense. Obviously. I think Bob Dylan was a big influence on Tom Petty, and they ended up working together in the Travelling Wilburys around the same time as this, actually. So that all sort of makes sense. But yeah, I just love the story concept. I find is really interesting. It's talking about his sort of sister's ex-husband. Mm-hmm. That's something that you don't really tend to hear much about a song.
Yeah,
it's actually saying how his sister's actually like a horrible person.
Yeah.
Like that's just, again, I find that just so interesting. And then obviously he'll link back in the chorus to like, oh, but this won't happen to us. I just find the whole. Upon first couple of listens,
it's a hit and miss for me. I'm still unsure about my opinion on it, to be honest, but I don't think. If I was to drop 2 tracks from this, I wouldn't drop that one. Yeah,
I think it's a grower track. Mm-hmm. It's a real grower, because at first I didn't really get it, and I was like, this song's. I did think, this song's a bit boring, but then you listen to the lyrics a few more times, and you're like, oh no, this is actually quite a unique sort of topic, I think, for a song anyway. So
to continue on, we've then got Depending on You. What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, again, it's sort of, I feel like I've said a lot. It's, again, strong harmonies, strong guitar. It's incredibly catchy. Like, it's one of those ones that I do find myself getting in my head.
Yeah, see, this is another one that I find relatively forgettable.
I can see that though, yeah. I can see that.
And then the next song, which I probably the Apartment song, I could probably see as my least favourite song on the album.
Oh really?
That's probably the first song I dropped. But when looking into it, I found that it's quite a popular song off the album. It's just one of those songs that for some reason hasn't clicked with me.
What I like about the Apartment song is just it seems like a very sort of back to basics, back to his roots kind of song. Like, I don't know this for sure, but if I was to make a guess, I feel like this song is probably written from experiences of him trying to break into the music industry, like just sort of playing around bars and in sort of would it be sort of Florida, that sort of thing, just trying to make it, and obviously like living on sort of very little money, just living in this tiny little
apartment
that he might have made. And it's just it's like a nice little, it's some, I think the imagery in it is actually very good, and there's a section where there's some very, very good drumming. It's like a sort of like combo between like the ride and the tom drums. I think it's one of those songs, like, on the surface it seems like a very simple basic song, but then when you sort of look at the different elements, it's actually a very strong track. I wouldn't say it's my least favourite off the album.
It's then followed up by quite again, like changing the tempo, going nice and slow with Alright For Now. Yeah,
to me this is the best song on the second side for me. I really love this one. It's one, again, another one I didn't get it straight away. Yeah. Because it is very short. It's sort of, if you don't pay attention, you do miss it, because it's about a minute and 50 seconds. Yeah. But it's such a soothing, calm track. It's like a lullaby, and I think
it is like a lullaby love song kind of thing. I do get that.
It's one of those ones you could apply. You could use it in either way. If you had like a child, you could use it as a lullaby to them. Yeah. But also you could apply it to like your significant other, like So that's what I just.
But again, see, as much as I love this song, it is another one where I don't think this one has a music video, but I know if it did have a music video, it'd be very, very cheesy. It's another one of those ones where I liked when he says "Alright For Now," like that his voice and stuff, that sounded very cool. But like, I don't know, there's something about the rest of the song where I can see a little bit of cheese getting in there.
I think, to be honest, considering what's obviously it's mainly just an acoustic guitar. I think if they really wanted to, they could have made this very cheesy.
Yeah, like, they put more like. That's what I mean. It's on that line for me. It's kind of near.
I personally think this is one of the most underrated Tom Petty tracks. Like no one would. I don't think many people would talk about this song as if, but so I really, really do like that one.
Next is A Heart with a Mind of Its Own. This is probably my favourite song on this side of the album, personally. Just not particularly outstanding. It's just one of those songs that it's just quite nice to bob your head to.
It's got a very, very good riff.
Yeah,
like it's that it keeps going back to it, but you don't get sick of it because it's a very well constructed riff, I find. Yeah. But I think that's another one of my favourites off. Yeah. That's probably my third favourite off the second side. Just behind You're So Bad and Alright For Now,
and then you got the closer, Zombie Zoo, which is a bit more out there.
It's an interesting one. It's one of those ones. I think if it was put on another album, I would like it more. I do. It's a good song. Don't get me wrong. I do like the song, but it does feel a bit out of place on the album. It's a bit. It's got and actually, I think I'll go back to it in a bit. But there's a couple of musical guests on here. On Zombie Zoo, you've got Roy Orbison, who did Pretty Woman. That sort of famous 60s song. He does some of the harmonies on Zombie Zoo. Yeah, Zombie Zoo is one of those ones. It's very, very catchy.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I can't.
I know what you mean. It's a very different style to the rest of the album. I'm not too sure it suits the album, but as a standalone song, I think it's quite good.
It is quite. I think I would like it more if it was on another album.
I personally, I wouldn't take it off.
Would you not? Oh, okay.
No, just because of. I don't like Apartment Song, and what was the other one I said earlier?
No, it was A Face in the Crowd.
A Face in the Crowd. Just because I feel like those two are worse than them. Right. Because Zombie Zoo as a standalone song, I think is probably one of the stronger ones on the album personally. But when you actually look at like the style of the rest of the album, it kind of doesn't suit it. I get what you mean.
Yeah. So do you want to quickly go into the two B-sides that I managed to find?
We'll quickly cover them. So what was the first one?
So it's Don't Treat Me Like a Stranger.
Yeah. See, that was my favourite of the two.
Yeah. It's definitely, you can tell it's more of a product from that recording.
Yeah. So I'd probably put that on the first side instead of A Face in the Crowd, and I think I'd make I think really if you cut down the album to just the first side and then replace that first B side with A Face in the Crowd, I think that would make a really good album. I'd give it a higher review just off that first half.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it's the second half that lets it down for me.
See, I would take out Zombie Zoo and I would slot in Don't Treat Me Like a Stranger right at the end, or you put that right at the end because I think that would be a good way to close it. However, I want to talk a bit about Down the Line here. So what do you think of Down the Line?
See, personally, this is another one. It's got a bit of a zombie zoo kind of situation. Where it's a great song, but I'm not sure if it suits the album.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. Like when I was listening to it, I was like, I actually really really liked it. Yeah. I'd not heard this song until a few days ago when researching it.
What I was thinking is if you were to put it on the album, so to get rid of Apartment Song, I was thinking you probably put what was this B-side called again? Sorry.
Which one?
The one the second one.
Down the Line.
Down the Line. If we were going to put that in. I think you need to put that just before Zombie Zoo to give it some sort of transition.
Yeah, so it's sort of like two unique. I can see that.
Tracks to end.
I mean, my sort of thinking was you could maybe, if you wanted a sort of different flavour to end the track, you could use Down the Line to end the album if you want. Although
instead of Zombie Zoo.
Possibly, yeah. But
yeah, okay, I get that.
So I guess I think we can kind of tell what my thoughts on this album are already. Yeah. But I want to get your overall, because when we've briefly touched on like. When we've been about sort of talking, but we try to avoid talking about it just to get a more.
The past 2 weeks have been a bit of a struggle, to be honest, because we keep trying to talk about this album.
And we start and then we sort of like, no, we got to save it for the. We got to save it for the show. But
so we've been keeping our reviews quiet for the past 2 weeks. So out of 10, what are you giving this album?
I mean, it's for me. I think just to give a bit of context, like I'd listened to one Tom Petty album before listening to this. It was a few months sort of before he died. I listened to an album called Damn the Torpedoes, which could be a future episode. Down the line, obviously. We're not going to go. We're not going to go. Oh yeah, down the line. Yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah, obviously we're not going to keep going. But I want to try to get as many different artists. But I think that Down the Torpedoes would be an interesting one to talk about.
Okay.
But so I listened to that. Well, I listened to Down the Torpedoes, and then the day Tom Petty died, I then went. This is the first album that I went and listened to. So I feel like this.
It's got a bit of sentimental value.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where like I think it's always. I'd say at the minute it's my favourite Tom Petty album. I don't really see that changing anytime soon. So I'm going out and I'm giving it a 9. I'm giving it a 9 out. I would say it's one of my all-time favourite albums.
Mike Murphy has given it a 9. We need to note that down. We're going to make a big Excel spreadsheet or something, so we can keep track of our. We'll have to work out like the average score between us and see what album. For me, it's an album full of decent tracks. Like it's a positive review. Like it's good tracks. Personally, I think there's one track that I would revisit and another one that I might revisit. Free Fallin' is a tune, but I can't see myself going out my way to listen to it. But if it came on, I'd enjoy listening to it. If you get me. But Running Down a Dream is a track that I definitely will revisit. It's probably definitely my favourite on the album, and one of my favourites I've discovered this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it just the cheesy factor and the fact that I don't know, they kind of, a lot of them seem like campfire songs to me. So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10.
6. Okay.
Which I think a lot of people are going to see as a negative review, but anything for me above a 5 is a positive review.
Yeah, because I always think with those 1 to 10 scales, like for example, my opinion of a 6 and it's sort of like average sort of thing. But I guess for you a 6 is like.
See, for me, I think 5 is a very average, just normal. Like I feel like I throw the kooks or something like that at number 5.
But I'm guessing I'm guessing. So if I'm right in saying a 6 for you is above average.
Yeah,
so
it's a good album. It's a good album.
Yeah. See, I'd see the 7 as more as like a good. But yeah, okay, I can. Okay, yeah.
It's like it's a decent album that like I think there's highlights on it, but I think there's a lot of tracks on there that I will forget and are quite easily forgettable.
Fair enough. I mean, for me, it's I think it's a very consistent album throughout. Like all the songs are very, very solid. They're all.
I do think it's consistent, but consistent to a different level of what I'm wanting.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's just an album of very, very good songs. I will admit that none of them are very sort of like groundbreaking or but just that it's one of those ones like it's one of those albums that I can just listen to pretty much at nearly any time because it's.
See, I think that's one of the weaknesses for me is I'm a little bit more of a fan of more experimental music.
Yeah, no, I do as well.
It's such as reflected with my love for Radiohead, where they're more pushing the boundaries and stuff like that. Whereas this kind of.
See, I like bits of both. I can appreciate something. I think you need a mixture of everything. But yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm glad that you didn't completely.
I didn't completely just discard it
because I was quite, especially when I put this as the album, I was quite worried. I was thinking, Ryan may just completely just not get to grips with this album at all, and it might get a very sort of aggressive show.
Nah,
of,
we're fighting over the table.
Fighting over the album. But yeah, okay, I'll just quickly go over, because I've realised we're sort of we're running for time in a bit. So I'll just quickly go over some of the stuff about it. So it was a very, very successful album at the time. Did very well across the globe. So the album got to number 8 in the UK, number 3 in the US,
not bad.
Number 3 in Canada, 2 in Norway.
Oh, Norway, loving it.
Yeah, 2 in Sweden, 13 in Australia, and 5 in New Zealand. So the album, and the overall reviews, this album got very generally high critical acclaim.
Yeah.
So for the time, it was very, very well received, and Rolling Stone ranked it at number 2 in the greatest albums of the 1980s. So
nice.
It's
So I think the perfect way to close off this show.
Oh, definitely.
Would be to play Free Fallin'.
Yeah.
Arguably the biggest track off the album.
A biggest Tom Petty song, period.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go into that.
There we are.